holding my breath and I'm ready to go. I'm falling right in and I'm ready to go. I found what I want and I know that we're on top, so I'll tap in and I'm ready to work.
Broadcasting from Central Kentucky, the headquarters of the Dr. My Budget podcast, where we discuss how to grow your personal wealth without having a major impact on your current lifestyle. Here is your host, Dr. Dan, the Finance Man.
Welcome, everyone. Today is June the 19th. I'm your host, Dr. Dan, the Finance Man. We're excited to get to our special guest, but we got to take care of a couple of housekeeping issues first. Today's episode is sponsored by Nexa Mortgage, NMLS ID 2296654. If you are thinking about buying or selling any kind of real estate here in the near future, or even investing, we have a team of real estate professionals and mortgage professionals across the country that are ready to assist you and give you the information you need so you can make the best informed decision on how to move forward. You can always reach out to us at Dr. Dan at drmybudget.com, or you can call us on the Make Kentucky Home Group at eXp Realty phone line at 859-429-0552, and we'll answer all of your questions and concerns. And I know this is the part you're all ready for, so let's dive in. Our guest today hails from the charming town of Elizabethtown, Kentucky, where she was born and raised. With a rich background in customer service and sales spanning several years, she brings invaluable communication and relationship skills to the table when working with her real estate clients. But what truly sets my guest apart is her unique expertise. She is not only a VA certified realtor, but also a certified probate real estate specialist. This distinctive combination makes her exceptionally well suited to assist military clients and offer guidance to executors in the process of selling inherited properties. We are thrilled to have Nicole Covell join us today as she shares her insights and knowledge on navigating the world of real estate, making informed decisions, and creating a secure future. Welcome, Nicole.
Thank you so much, Daniel. I really appreciate you having me today. I'm honored to be here.
Well, you are welcome. So let's dive in. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Sure. I've been licensed in real estate for 8 years now. And the way that I actually got started in that, I actually had never thought about it before, but I had gone to interview for a job just sitting in a model home in a new construction subdivision. And so I actually ended up meeting with the broker to interview for that job. And he ended up talking to me that day, and I couldn't tell you exactly what he said to me, but it was one of those conversations that just makes such an impact on you that it's life-changing. And he wasn't trying to recruit me or anything. He just talked to me about a lot of different things that day. And he told me that I wasn't going to get the job, that I was overqualified for it. But when I left there, he had asked me if I had ever thought about doing real estate. And at the time, I hadn't. And so when I left, I just remember driving home and just my mind was just spinning. And so at that time, that's when I decided to look into getting my license. I went ahead and went through school at that time. And that was right about when I finished school. It was ready to take my test and get my license. It was right about the time that everything crashed. And so I decided not to test. I thought I'll just table this for a while, see what happens, and go from there. So fast forward a number of years, I was working a full-time job and wasn't real happy where I was. And it was always something that was just kind of in the back of my mind, and just wondering kind of like, what if I went ahead and did that? And so I just decided at that point, about 8 years ago, that, if I don't go for this now, then when am I going to? It's always going to be something that I wonder, what if I had done that? So I did go, and I had to, of course, retake all my school, do all that again. And this time I got my license, and that was 8 years ago.
That's awesome. What a great story. So we mentioned at the top of the show that you are a probate specialist. So for those that are not familiar with the probate process, can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. With that, I went ahead and got certified in that because I felt like that was something where there is a real need in probably every person's life, unfortunately, at some time or another. If it's not you personally, it's somebody that you know. And the probate process is something that if you're named an executor, most people have no idea how to navigate that. It's something they're just kind of thrown into, and it's a very emotional time, obviously, for most people. And it's difficult to kind of even know where to start with that. So I can help people and guide them through that process. And even I have a checklist for them of this is how this will work. This is the time frame for this. This is what comes next, to kind of help them know what to expect and also help them with the sale of that property if that's something that they choose to do, so that they can get the most profit for the heirs of the property and hopefully have a little more clarity through the process.
Okay. Very cool. And you mentioned that, a lot of them don't know what to do. So can you kind of give a overview of like the brief snapshot of the process?
So let's just say, for example, that I have a client who's been made an executor of a will, and their loved one or their relative, somebody has passed away and appointed them an executor. So the court will advertise the property in the paper. They have to give notice to any creditors or anybody who, is owed from the property. And then after everything has gone through the process, they will give the executor the letters testamentary, which gives them permission to sell the real estate. But during all this process, of course, it's advertised in the paper, so anybody who has any reason to contact the executor will be bombarding them with, phone calls, sometimes even writing them, all during the time that they are usually grieving for somebody, dealing with a lot of emotions and loss. And it's very overwhelming for people, especially when it is a real property like a house, because they're not only trying to figure out what to do with their property, but also going through that person's personal items and trying to dispose of those. And it's very difficult. So I'm happy to be able to provide at least a little help during that time and guidance to kind of give them an expectation of what comes next.
Yeah, and I can imagine that's probably a very stressful time, and having someone like yourself there to help them navigate is just a huge like stress load off of them.
Yes, that's what I hope it is. And also to kind of help them understand, which phone calls they need to be taking and which they don't, as far as what needs to be done for the process of eventually selling the property, if that's what they plan to do.
Yeah. And you mentioned that if they had a will, then, they would typically follow that. Do you ever run into scenarios where they don't have a will?
I have not yet, but I do know that that is very common. And so one of the things that we do offer occasionally with my team is a workshop with people who will help you plan your estate and make sure that that is taken care of, because most people don't have one. And, things happen unexpectedly, and it can provide a lot of challenges for the people, for your remaining family if you don't have one.
Nicole, you mentioned that you like to serve military families. So are you close? I know Elizabethtown, that's close to a military installation, correct?
It is. I live about 30 minutes from Fort Knox. And so, of course, a lot of people are stationed there. A lot of people don't choose to live on base. They prefer to live a little bit off. So I do have a lot of military clients who live in Vine Grove, Rineyville, sometimes even a little bit more rural if they want more acreage. That's still within, 30 to 45 minutes of Fort Knox itself.
Very cool. So, what are some of the current projects that you have going on right now?
Well, probably one of the most rewarding and exciting things that I've done recently is I have teamed up with a local builder, and their passion is to build affordable homes that are also beautiful and um, very quality as far as the way that they're built in an area of E-Town that's been underdeveloped for a number of years.
Uh-huh. And
They're
when you say affordable, what do you mean by affordable? What's the price points on those?
affordable for those, at least right now, with them just starting out doing this. It's been right around the 200 mark.
Okay.
Which of course is very hard to find anything, even a resale home, let alone new construction for that.
Right.
But they do a wonderful job, and so we just closed on the second one that they've built, and their plan is to just kind of really make that area just a beautiful little community. So I'm really excited and grateful to be part of that.
That's awesome. So you mentioned that you've been in the real estate industry for about 8 years, and we know that technology is a huge part of real estate nowadays. So how has the industry transformed from like when you first got your license to where it's at now?
Well, as far as changes, I think one of the biggest changes that I have had to kind of navigate is the demand, because everything is so much faster paced now, even than when I started. And you have multiple offers, which don't seem to be going anywhere. So when I first started, I started at a very small brokerage, and everything was paper, everything was hand signed. They didn't do electronic signatures. And so I know that was far behind what most people were doing at the time. But just, I think I use a lot of online programs as far as for signatures and things like that. Excuse me. But it's important to be able to do things quickly, because, you look at a house, they want to make an offer, and there's usually not just one offer, but multiple on it already.
That's great, because that leads us into our next question, because you mentioned multiple offers. So what do potential buyers and sellers need to know about the area that you service?
I would say, and I tell this to a lot of people, especially people who are new to the area, don't expect a bargain. Because I think what a lot of people are expecting is that, I've heard this for probably about 3 years now. People expect, well, the market's going to crash and we're going to be able to get all these amazing deals. Or other people tell me, well, everything's overpriced, so I don't want to pay that. And what I try to help people understand is that this is the market that we're in right now. And so for my area particularly, there are so many jobs coming in and so many new industries that the demand is so much higher than the current inventory right now. And as that progresses, as the more things are coming into town, that's not going to slow down. And so, I don't think that it's very realistic to have an idea that you can either offer way less than asking, because you definitely are not going to get it, but also for people to think that they can sit and wait for some, bargain to come along. That's not going to happen either.
Yeah, and if those opportunities do come, it's rare.
Oh, it's very rare. And it's not going to be either what you see on TV, where it's, this beautiful home that just needs a little bit of paint and carpet. There's going to be some major issues there.
So what would you say is the one thing that sets you apart from all the other agents that are out there?
I would say relationship, because when I work with clients, my goal is to be their realtor for life. And throughout the process, a lot of them do become friends. And so when I work with somebody, I maintain that relationship after closing. And I love to stay in contact with them and continue that communication and not just disappear after closing day. So I truly care about my clients, and my passion is to help people. Like you mentioned earlier, my background's in customer service, and that's something that, I did for years before I did real estate. So I love to help people, and it's it's one of the biggest decisions they'll ever make, and so it's an honor to be a part of that.
Okay. And so, Nicole, how can people get in contact with you?
Well, they can call me or text me, and my cell phone number is 270-300-1024. And my email is Nicole, just Nicole, at trishfordteam.com.
Okay, very cool. All right. Well, before we wrap up, you said something that is very interesting. So, I think perception is that, if you're from a small town, that prices are going to be more affordable. And sometimes, that's not always the case.
Well, and I think I do think that it is more affordable than other areas of the country or even larger cities. And I do have people who move here from out of state, and they talk about how much better the cost of living is here. So I think as far as the prices go, yes, we've seen a lot of rising prices over the past 3 to 5 years. But is it way overpriced compared to other areas of the country? No. I think it's a general, everything has risen.
Well, Nicole, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to be on the show today. And again, can you give your number one more time for the listeners?
Sure. It's 270-300-1024.
Okay. Nicole, thank you so much. And for all of you, if you've enjoyed this content, please feel free to drop a comment below, hit that like, hit that follow button, hit that subscribe, and we will catch you next time around.
Holding my breath and I'm ready to go. I'm falling right in and I'm ready to go. I found what I want.